51 movies across 3 channels, the bloodiest, most transgressive Horrorfest lineup yet. The bloodiest, most transgressive Horrorfest lineup of all time, going on right now until Halloween. What is up, everybody? Welcome to PCP Movie Night here on Pop Culture Philosophers, and welcome, in fact, to the start of another week of Horrorfest 2024, the bloodiest, most transgressive Horrorfest lineup of all time. And we're taking a little bit of a step back. Last week, we did the Green Inferno, which was a feast for the eyes. And by the way, the first PCP Movie Night to hit 1,000 in the shortest amount of time. So, holy cow, y'all. Thank you for supporting the Green Inferno video. I know our boy Eli would be proud, but tonight we're talking about One Missed Call, the original Japanese film from 2003, widely released in 2004, not the 2008 American remake, which is known as one of the worst movies of the 2000s. Not that one, but the original. Takashi Miike, we've talked about on this channel twice before. Ichi the Killer and Audition. Two great movies. How does this one stack up? We got a stacked panel tonight to talk about it, including my man Jelani. What is up, homie?
Station. And yeah, this is a crazy movie. Yeah, I'm glad to be here for it. But I didn't know Green Inferno did so well. That's crazy.
It did, man. We're sitting at I think we're approaching 1,300, 1,400 views right now, and we've never had a PCP movie night hit 1,000 within a week. So This was the first time that's happened. So maybe we got a new cyborg on our hands. Who knows? Or a new kickboxer or stopper my mom will shoot or some shit like that. Who knows? Who knows? First time watch for you. I believe a first time watch for everybody on the panel aside from myself, including Brooks. What's up, my man?
What's up? I'm starting to think that people just like the shit movies. Cyborg, Cobra, Green Inferno. What the fuck?
Iron Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really got to dive deep now for next year. For 2025's lineup, it's all just the shittiest movies we can.
Worst movies we can find.
Yeah, 2 Days in the Valley.
They're not even bloody or transgressive.
Speaking of bloody and transgressive, straight from Blood Splatter Chatter, who's been killing it on Horrorfest this year, it's Verno. What is up?
Yo, what up? Thanks for having me here. Happy Horrorfest, everyone. Stoked to talk about this one.
Happy Horrorfest. Had a great show over at your channel on Friday with the Friday the 13th special. We talked about Friday the 13th part 2.
Hell yeah, man. Tons of fun.
Yeah, and the trivia was great, man. But I won. So I'm expecting my Jason mug in the mail. All right?
I don't know if you saw when I reposted it. I put a little award on your neck at the end. So it is. I made it clear on the repost at least when I cut it out as its own trivia.
Hell yeah. Speaking of winning awards, that's what PCP's trying to do right now. Go to the cbcawards.org and vote for PCP. Vote for Go Figure Reviews. Vote for Eric, 9-panel grid. Vote for Fable. Vote for Two Gun Pedro. And I guess vote for Nick if you really feel like it. But the #1 award winner in my heart has always been Hammer Time Holshoe. He's here because we're talking about a Japanese film, and he's obligated to be here for every Japanese film we do.
Konbanwa. Thanks for having me.
You excited to talk about this one?
I hadn't seen this one, and I've been trying to watch more live action that aren't series or anime. So I'm like, okay, Halloween's coming up. I haven't seen this. I'll give it a go. So it was a movie.
Yes, it was.
It was definitely a movie.
It's
I did not
definitely
going into it though that it was what's his name, Takashi Miike. I didn't realize that until I didn't realize it, but obviously his name comes up at the beginning of the film, so I learned pretty quickly.
Yeah,
it's definitely his style, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that, and we got a final member of the panel. We're a little bit late today because this guy just wanted to bitch about the X-Men books for a while, but that's just what he does. It's Joe Corallo. What is up, my man?
It's true, and hey, Hammer Time Holshoe there. I was going to say, if you guys want another insane movie that might just do numbers for no reason that you should maybe consider for next Action Fest, Lady Battle Cop. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down, though. Lady Battle Cop.
Lady Battle Cop is the Japanese RoboCop knockoff about
I must watch it.
About a pro tennis player who gets second place, not first, second in the big tournament, and then gets caught up in a big heist and is stabbed in the back with a gigantic, comically sized knife and wakes up.
Why are you spoiling this shit for us?
Spoiler alert,
That's
bro.
in the first few minutes.
in this movie.
Oh,
I looked at a picture.
You had me at Lady Battle.
You already had our attention and our curiosity and everything, and then you're like, "Oh, and by the way, here's the movie."
That's not how it ends. That's like,
Jesus, what, man?
Joe, thank you for being here, man. It's always a great horror
Thank
fest when we got a stacked panel of so many fantastic people like you there out in the chat. We see you all. Thank you so much, Eddie. I just want you to know we love you, and we're all here with you right now. So let's get into it. There's Two Gun Pedro right there. Go vote for him for the Blue Wrench Award, biggest channel supporter. CBCAwards.org. Someone please throw out a link in the chat and go vote for us, y'all. Come on, we want the bragging rights, man. I'm going to be on Comic Journey on Wednesday. My nemesis, I'm going to be on his channel, so everybody go check that out. I was just on Uncanny Omar's channel, Near Mint Condition, talking about the evergreen Marvel omnibuses. And Joe, I got Onslaught on the list. I convinced everybody to put Onslaught on the list. There's not a lot of evergreen Marvel projects, events, I should say. All right.
yeah.
Let's talk about this film. One Missed Call, directed by Takashi Miike. We've talked about him before. Audition, Ichi the Killer. He's one of my favorite Japanese horror directors. He did a episode of Masters of Horror that even Showtime was afraid to air. It was called Imprint. So if you ever get a chance to watch Imprint, definitely check that one out. This is based on a book, right? So there's three of these movies. I've got this Arrow edition, which is the trilogy. I've never seen 2 and 3, but I actually hear that 2 and 3 are good, and 2 may even be better than the first one, right? Now, of course, they did remake this because of the whole remake of J-horror that was popular with The Ring and The Grudge, Pulse, One Missed Call. But One Missed Call was kind of at the tail end of that in the American zeitgeist, but as well as the Japanese zeitgeist. In fact, when this movie was released in 2003, 2004, people were already tired of it, and it got criticized very heavily for being very derivative of movies like Ringu, right? Of kind of taking, it was accused of basically doing the same plot. It was also criticized for not being as extreme as other Takashi Miike films, right? Which, by the way, is funny because Takashi Miike in his extreme films, like say Ichi the Killer or in particular Audition, was criticized for pushing the boundary too far. So critics can go get fucked. Anyway, I do know that this movie is derivative of earlier J-horror, including The Ring, right? And it's a little bit late to the game, but I do still love how like it's meaner and slightly edgier than those films. Like if you just look at the effects, the way people die, like, and even how do I put this? Like the feeling of knowing you're going to die in something like Ringu, I get it. Okay, you watch the tape, 7 days later, you're going to die. Oh, I'm freaking out. But when you get a voicemail of yourself from 2 days in the future of the moment of your death, I think that's kind of chilling. And I think some of the kills are a little bit meaner and brutal. It's still a Miike film, right? But it has more atmosphere and a melancholical kind of tone and atmosphere to it that really fits what I think is a very chilling Japanese ghost story. So I like this film. I think that it deserves a little bit more roses. I think it deserves a little bit more love. And I'm curious to see what the panel's going to think about this film tonight. So, Jelani, what'd you think about One Missed Call?
It's all right. It doesn't suck. But it's. I've seen this, and you're right about the derivativeness of certain things. But I've seen this movie, and it's quite mean. There's a phone call with a funny ringtone, which I can't get out of my head now.
I used to have that ringtone, by the way, back in like the late 2000s. That was one of my ringtones, and nobody ever knew what it was.
That's freaking nuts. I'm glad I didn't watch the American version too, because I'm sure it was trash. It's just that I'm not saying this is bad, but I'm not saying it's that good. It's got its moments. I do like that one kill where that girl gets spun around, which should have been on national TV. That should have been on somebody should have been filming that. That's an awesome kill. The elevator kill are pretty cool too in points. But the ending, and Brooks, I'm sorry about this, but it has an Evangelion ending. And I hate Evangelion because of the ending of it.
Which ending? I think this ending like was 4 times.
Right. I think this ending is way more understandable than any of the Evangelion endings.
I'm just like, man. I was sitting there like, what? She did what? To do what? It was so many questions I had. Maybe I need to watch it again. But I was left perplexed and confused at the very end. I was trying to piece it all together. It took me a while. I think I had to read Wikipedia twice to understand what was going on. There's a fly in my house. And it's all right. It's not terrible, like I said, but it's all right.
All right. It's all right. It's all right. That's when I do a Marvel book that didn't really piss me off when I review one for the weekend time.
This movie. They're killers. They're stuff. The main girl was cute. Stuff was going on.
Okay.
Cute,
all right.
Cute
I can
is
take
an
that.
Understatement, but okay.
Is the character's name Yumi, right? Is that where? Yeah, Yumi.
Yeah, Yumi.
Yeah, she is cute, man.
Yeah.
She's cute. One of the things I love about now, I get the derivative nature of it, right? But I think that I don't think it's as derivative as people think, because the idea, okay, Japanese horror in particular, and I'm not an expert on Japanese culture or anything like that, but for some reason in their horror films, especially of this era, they're really centered at times on how technology and the supernatural kind of overlap, right? And I think that's actually really cool. Now, they're so like ahead of the game with than other cultures with their films on the rise of technology, that it makes their films feel very dated very quickly. Like Ringu got very dated very quickly because it's about videotape. And like kids today, like, what the fuck's a videotape? What's one of these fucking flip phones? You know what I'm saying? Like, there was an element watching this movie. I hadn't seen this movie, so I've only ever seen this movie one other time. When I worked at Movie Stop, it came in and I went, oh, I didn't realize that shitty movie was based on a Takashi Miike film? Holy shit, right? And all I had seen was Itchy, Imprint, and Audition, right? So I snatched it up. I watched it. I liked it. I thought it was cool. And then I just kind of left it alone, right? But rewatching it, it gave me this like nostalgic feeling for my old cell phone from like back in the early 2000s, which was really freaking weird. Which is funny because Brooks still has one of those phones that he uses. So Brooks, what do you think?
I don't use it anymore, but I still got it.
You play Snake on that shit? What do you think about the movie, man?
I thought it was okay. There was a lot of things I liked about it. Like I really loved the flip phone aspect. And especially in Japan, like they had the charms. Everyone had like charms on their phones. So like every phone has like stickers and charms all over it and shit. It's like a whole thing. I think this movie could have done with a little trimming. I think it runs a little long.
It's long.
But yeah, but it feels to me kind of like an Argento movie in a way, like, you know, how we do these murder mysteries, but with like a supernatural spin to it. So yeah, I thought it was good, but like, you know, it felt like it was a little long for me, and it didn't have like the intensity, I think, of the other Miike movies I've seen so far. But you know, so good, but you know, not great.
But okay, so one thing to know about Takashi Miike is how prolific this dude is. Like in 2003, he released 5 projects.
Yeah.
In 2004, he released 5 projects. Like, this dude is he's done over 200 films. Like, that's insane to think about, right? Like, when we think about people like who are our favorite directors, like Spielberg, fucking Tarantino, Scorsese, Scott. When you look at their body of work compared to this guy, he's like the Nicolas Cage of fucking Japanese directors, right? He just does not.
Some of those are big budget, big films. Not all his stuff is like, I don't know. I guess he started out kind of like almost independent, but man, as he's gone on, he's done everything from what feels like still independent to like these big Japanese blockbusters.
Yeah. And it's a lot of not horror too.
Yeah, he just doesn't do horror, right? Like, he doesn't get pigeonholed like other directors in America have, like say a George A. Romero or even a Dario Argento in Italy, right? Or like a Wes Craven, right? He made that one movie, Music of the Heart, and he's like, that's my favorite movie because it's not a horror film. And I'm just like, really? That's Anyway, your first time watching as well, Verna. What'd you think about this film? One Missed Call.
I'm pretty close to what Jelani and Brooks feel. I liked it. I didn't love it. I was way into it at first. Like right off the bat, like I was sucked in. I don't know. It had this like, okay, I just watched a lot of Japanese films over the summer, or a handful, not a lot, but a handful. So I'm glad that I did, because I get the tone of this more. It's like, it's this somber kind of fun film, if that makes any sense. It's got the somberness that you get like from Ring, but then there's a touch of it that feels like a Final Destination movie almost, with the way that the kills are going on and the randomness of it. But it doesn't have like the waka-waka-ness of a Final Destination movie. It's there, but it's way more subdued in those like kind of funny bits. But yeah, man, I mean, stylistically, it's fucking awesome. The moments are awesome. The pacing is definitely here and there, but every time I get a little bit bored, something really cool happens. So I always know, like, I trust Takashi Miike enough to know that something cool is coming, but the characters, which we'll get into, and the story, which we'll get into, not great. You know what I mean? Not great in a lot of different ways. I'm just like Jelani, and I was like, oh, maybe I need to watch this again. So I did, and it didn't help. Like, I'm not even joking. I had all the same questions. I was like, okay, like I'm just barely piecing it together. I know what happened. What happened is The Ring, pretty much. Like, that movie happened after a setup. But I don't know. It is.
Somebody wanted to basically take that idea, right? And so this is based on 3 novels. But the funny thing is, I think the novel released after the movie. So they would kind of come up together at the same time. And the dude who wrote the novel was responsible for putting a bunch of like boy bands together in Japan and shit like that, right? So we're talking about a guy who's just like a business guy, right? Like, what can I do to make money? But the fact that Takashi Miike did this film, which is, Brooks, what you said, it's not like the other Takashi Miike films. They got criticized for that, right? But there's a lot of bonus features on here, and one of them is a really cool documentary. And Takashi Miike is looking at the camera during the making of the film. He goes, "I want to do something different this time. I don't want to just shock people. I want to actually try to scare people this time."
Right.
And so he's doing the popular tropes at the time. They were a little bit late at the time. They're still a little bit boring today. But I don't know. You can still feel he's the one that did it, right? Because when the mom shows up at the end, dude, that's gnarly makeup.
That's the best bit.
Right?
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, it's like, I don't know if it's, how much is it that I'm just not as familiar with the tropes of J horror so that it seems so derivative. Because you can watch a Friday the 13th movie, but what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Or any American slasher where it's like a mystery whodunit slasher, or like Brooks said, like a giallo movie. Like, we just kind of accept all those tropes. But with this, it's so like the tropes are, it's not just the tropes, it's like the plot, that goes along with it. But that plot is part of the tropes of the J horror, where you have the procedural investigation in with the ghost story mixed in with the slasher style format of the kills.
Yeah,
like punctuating everything. So it's interesting, but yeah, it feels exactly like The Ring. If you were to write down like the structure of the movie, like even up to at the end, the main female has this embrace with a ghost, and they're holding her, and then the cops show up, and then you think the movie's over, and then it's not. You know what I mean? It's like everything about it, even like the similar, I would say, Scream style setup, but really, Robbie, it's so similar to that opening of Candyman. Like that, where you get this quick little thing at the beginning that sets up. I don't know. It just had that feel. But overall, it's cool, but it is weird. It's not one of my. It's my least favorite Takashi Miike movie. But all I've watched is Audition and Itchy the Killer, and this is somewhere in between those tonally too.
Yeah, and like, oh, so you've seen those two. You've seen this. Watch Imprint, and you pretty much have all of his horror movies.
Okay,
like
wow.
There's just not like but like I would recommend like Black Society. Really cool crime film that he did, and that's pretty much even my experience with him. I definitely need to dive deeper, but unfortunately sometimes when you're a Japanese director who's done over 200 projects, I guess it's hard to find them in America sometimes for some reason. This is even a movie that nobody cared about in America until, I mean, there was the remake, but then when Arrow released this set, that was the first time a lot of people actually got to see the movie and even watch the sequels. And I'm excited to see the sequels. So I don't know, John, what about you? I know you're a big
I don't think the
fan
remake...
of Japanese culture, but you sent me a message a couple weeks ago. You were like, man, I watched this movie. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
What did I just watch? I'm curious about your thoughts.
Even though the remake is shit, I'm hoping that the remake pushed people to be like, oh, this original is good, and people went and watched the original. You know what I'm saying? If anything, the remake might have helped, for them to go back and watch the original film. It definitely, I agree with Verno where it was like, oh, okay, it's interesting. And then the ending, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't not understand it. I was just sort of like, oh, that's the ending? What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And I think the cast is great, though. Shibasaki, who is, Shibasaki, who's the main actress, who's Yumi. She's in a bunch of stuff. She's in Battle Royale. She's in 47 Ronin. She's in tons of stuff. And I'm not going to let the Jelani thing go that she's cute, because she is gorgeous. She is gorgeous. Don't sleep on this actress. She's in a lot of films. Go check out. She's in so much stuff, including American stuff. She's amazing. But the whole cast is great. And the concept's cool. Like, the concept's really cool. The problem is it just doesn't, it seems to like, I don't even think the film's that long, but it feels long. You said cut stuff, but what would you cut? Because it's not that long a film.
It's longer on Tubi, man.
Yeah, it is.
I would cut one twist out.
Yeah.
Well, isn't Tubi like have commercials or something?
Yeah, that's why. Like, you can't watch anything over 2 hours on
experience
Tubi.
watching this shit on Tubi.
Yeah, the really fucked up thing is I watch this film. The next day I'm in bed. It's pretty late because I don't work right now and I'm sleeping. And I go to bed pretty late, and my phone just beeps. It's on the charger, like the wireless charge, whatever. It just beeps, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I check, and I have a voicemail, but I got no missed call, and it didn't ring. And there's just a fucking voicemail. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't listen to it. I just deleted that shit. I'm like, nope. Fuck this. Fuck this. I've seen that fucking movie, but I didn't have a missed call. I didn't say I missed a call. It didn't fucking ring. It just was a voicemail just showed up. I'm like, no fucking way am I listening to this goddamn voicemail. I fucking no fucking way. I deleted it.
I tell you what, man.
Yeah.
I know that we can see how structurally it's very similar to things like The Ring, and that's probably very much the intention of the creator of the project, right? But that's a chilling concept to me, right? If you get like a voicemail from yourself 2 days set in the future, like, I don't know. I think that's a more chilling concept than The Ring, in my opinion.
I'm just hoping that call I get is a very obvious, like, welcome to Burger King. In the background, like, fuck, I'm never going to Burger King. You know what I'm saying? So I want something very obviously to happen so I can be like, oh, okay, I know.
But you can't avoid it because apparently, and this is a dumbass thing in the film, apparently we can just rewind time like Superman.
Yeah,
and fucking make it happen.
I was going to make that Superman reference, actually, because I'm like, just because the fucking clock go back doesn't mean time goes back. You know what I'm saying? That whole
the clock went back because time went back, bruh. Because there is an element, right, about like the connection between space and time and how it's relative. that like things in the future can actually affect, like, think about prophecy, premonition, shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting concept, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I just felt like that was
It's spooky as shit. So spooky that you deleted a fucking voicemail. You may have gotten an inheritance from some distant relative.
I could have, and I was like, fuck that. But I also could be dead. So
that's true.
I'm like, I can't die. I need to be on the fucking
John wasn't here tonight because he got a voicemail.
One missed call.
All right, Joe, what about you? Was this your first time watching it, right?
No, I've seen this before.
Okay.
No, I actually probably, and this is rare because usually when I'm on Robbie's side, usually at least half or so of the panel is, or everyone's against you, including me. But but like
those are the best nights.
No, absolutely. But this time I'm probably a little closer to you, Robbie. I really like this movie. Audition and Ichi the Killer are better. They're absolutely better.
Objective.
Yeah. This is not close. This isn't in the running for either of those movies. However, I really like this movie. And I love Ringu as well. Like The Ring, like, fuck it, who cares? But like, Ringu is great. And this does enough things different. It's like I'd have a hard time talking about like this being too derivative when it's like, are there that many movies like this compared to like slasher films, compared to the amount of fucking, Marvel movies that are all cookie cutter, the same origin story cranked out over and over again, that you could like, pace it down to the second on where things are. And yes, like if you watch this back to back with Ringu, there are a few moments that you can kind of like, set your watch and be like, well, yeah, this is happening at the same moment and stuff like that. But like, but I can't knock it like too much for that, because again, like it's not like we're overflowing with tons of movies that are exactly like this. I love how stylized it is. I love that it's dealing with cell phones and things like that, and the terror of technology. I love that it's dealing with again, like you were saying before, like it's a lot creepier to hear yourself basically talking about how you're going to die or something like that than just like a random like 7 days, like, because that could be anything, that could be dismissed. There's a different level of horror to that, because I think hearing your own voice say something like that really heightens it very quickly. But like something kind of random and then that happening and then that random thing happening again, that's a different kind of eerie, like, I don't know if this is real or not. How serious should I take this? But yeah, overall, I really like this movie. I wouldn't say I like absolutely love it, but I would say I really like it.
Fuck yeah, Joe. I knew we were friends for a reason. Thank you for backing me up. I get exactly what you're saying, because it's not perfect. It's not his best film, but it is. I love what you said. It's different enough, right? And I do think that I said meaner and maybe a little bit more edgier, right? But it's not an edgy movie. It's not a mean movie. But like even the opening kill where chick gets pushed through the fence and just jumped, and like just the idea of the severed arm still typing out this number, freaking cool to me. Super creepy.
Yeah, I love that bit.
I fist pumped at that moment. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the cast and the performances. I only really have 2. I could have 3 or 4, but I have like a backup just in case. I'm going to let y'all go first. So, Jelani, what's a performance you want to highlight?
The little girl, the possession girl. She was creepy as crap. She was, I don't know what she was doing, like towards the end, where she was like.
Are you talking about the actual like?
Yeah, the little girl,
the asthma girl.
The asthma girl.
Okay.
Oh, not the little sister.
Not the little sister. I'm talking about the asthma girl. asthma girl killing everybody.
I like that twist. You know,
That's
I really
a crazy
do.
twist. That is an awesome twist on some levels, but like I said, it's still Samara, so I'm still like, all right, it makes sense. She has like this air of evil to her, and even at the end when she possesses Yumi, and she has the knife, which I'm pretty sure she's just gonna stab him again or stab him another time and be like, hey, he's hurt again. I hope nurse him back to health and stab him again or kill him. I don't know. It's Evangelion. I don't know. So I'm just like, I hate ambiguity. I want to know if she was like possessed and then she got rid of the possession and she's okay now. But now she's
no, they're not okay, Jelani. Let me just go ahead and spell it out for you. They're not okay. They're just repeating the fucking cycle now.
Yay, crap.
Yeah.
That's too much work. So
not to get too deep into it, but one of the themes I think is the cyclical nature of abuse, right?
Yeah, abuse keeps happening.
But you like the little girl that like kept stabbing her sister, fucking shit like that, right?
Let's go to the hospital. I'll take you to the hospital.
Yeah, I'll give you this piece of candy. That's another element I really love stylistically about the film is the candy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What speaking of candy just randomly falling out of your mouth, what about you, Brooks? What do you think about the performance? What's the performance you want to highlight? I forgot where we were.
I like the I guess it's the detective guy is like I don't know, like I'm not well versed in how like policing works in Japan, but it seems kind of like very similar in a lot of ways to how it is here. And that, you report a crime and they're like, oh, we're too busy. Even though they're like, it's part of their job is to like investigate crimes. But they're like, but in this case, the guy's like, oh, wait. And then all of a sudden he gets caught in this like weird supernatural like murder mystery thing. It's like, what can you do, man? It's like,
are you talking about the head detective, the guy that's like smoking cigarettes all the time while he's eating and shit like that, right?
Want some candy?
I noted that too. It's like he's sitting there eating something with a cigarette. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Based on every Japanese movie I've seen, the police are very ineffectual.
Right.
And they all smoke a lot of cigarettes.
Not like here.
It's just like a giallo, man.
Exactly.
It's just like a giallo.
It really, really is. And like, in so many more ways too. Like the style of it.
Absolutely. All right. So the main detective. Nice. He was a crotchety old guy. I liked him. What about you, Vernon? What's the performance you want to highlight?
Oh man, this is actually like a super struggle because that's the problem with my biggest problem with the movie is I couldn't connect to almost any of the characters, and a big part of that is because they never put the camera on their face like half the time. But I will go with I had one, but I thought the monster mom that comes out of the tub at the end, like she just looks that to me that's like the visual image that I'll take from this movie for sure. She looks like she's ripped out of a Fulci movie. Like she could have been in The Beyond or something like that.
Fucking shit falling off.
Loved it.
Yeah,
that was the best part, man. That was the best part.
Is that supposed to be her on the box art for the American movie? Because that looks like an alien or some shit. You know what I'm talking about? I never saw the American
thing with the fucking eyes, man.
Yeah, I don't know if that's supposed to be the mom. Now I've never seen the sequel, or the remake, but I saw the original. Obviously, like he did. You're right. The mom is terrifying, and also the backstory with the mom and the kid, and she finds out. I mean, you feel bad for the mom too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though she let her kid die.
If you're following it, you feel bad for her. If you're like me, you're like, oh, she's scary as shit, man. That's all I can really follow. But
you're like, bruh, this chick is fucking freaky, dude. I love it.
She was. I like how it was like really corny and like dated looking, but I still kind of enjoyed it. The way they were mixing like what she used to look like with what she looked like now. There was something freaky about that. But that was like the best moment of the movie too for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was terrifying.
What about you, Hammer Time? What's a performance you want to highlight?
It was a big misdirect too, but we won't get into that. Yumi, man, I talked about it earlier. She's an actress in a bunch of films. She's great. You know, she's great as the main character. You feel bad for what she's trying to help her friend Natsumi out. You know, you feel bad for her. You know what I'm saying? She gets caught in the middle of this thing, and she's a very talented actress. She's gorgeous, and she does a really good job in the film, and she carries the film well. I think she was a good cast, but I can't fault any of the cast. I mean, I thought somebody was going to take her immediately, so I had some other backups. But the cast is great. I mean, there's some definitely great actors here that I think it's not Miike's best film, but there's a powerful cast that carry the film well. And even if there's problems with the film, I don't blame any of the actors in the film. You know what I'm saying? But it's a great cast.
I forgot. I've seen one more Miike film. It's a film that's like a remake of a Korean film called like The Happiness of the Kakakurus or something like that. That is the wildest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like a weird comedy horror thing. I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. Jamie was the one that introduced me to that one. What a weird fucking movie. Y'all should watch that. We should cover that sometime. All right. What about you, Joe? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Sure. Natsumi, I think did like that character did a really good job. I thought of, being like terrified, kind of like she really sold it, being like kind of like roped in from people being like, oh, we're gonna like protect you, and her kind of just being like, I don't know what's going on, I guess, and like Yumi like trying to help, and it's like just having herself kind of being like swept away because she didn't know what to do. They didn't really know what to do. Frankly, Yumi didn't know what to do. Like, and she's sort of like is one of the most tragic deaths because everyone's like trying to help her and they all fail horribly on TV for the most part. And,
on TV. Yeah.
And what happened to the TV personnel when she's getting attacked? Like the studio ends up empty. I'm like, what the fuck?
And it was a great death scene, having her body twisted and contorted and all of that. I thought it really worked.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I did too.
No, and how it only showed up on TV, by the way. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't see it, but they could see it on the television.
Yeah, which they used in Ju-on and Ringu. Yeah. But the idea of like, I don't know, like technology and the supernatural.
I couldn't tell.
I like that. I like that. Nobody took the two I went with. So number one for me was The Exorcist. Like doing his little like spiel on TV. I thought that was funny. And the other one I would go with is Kenji, who is the second dude to die with the phone call or whatever. He's the one that jumps in the elevator.
Yeah.
I liked his performance because he's like super cool at the beginning, and like I thought he did a great job of like going from absolute anxiety and terror to anger and not believing it to then realizing this motherfucker's about to die, right? And I watched a video where they show his face close up in one moment and they go, he's making a weird face right there, and then they put in the clip, I jizzed in my pants, and it just he's making one of those faces and it cracks me up. Style and structure. I do think it runs a bit long. I think it could be trimmed up just a little bit, maybe too many twists, right? We got the twist about it's not the mom, it's the little girl. Then we get the twist at the end where like, no, she's not dead, this and that. Now it's going to like continue the curse, but I don't know. I don't know how it would tighten this movie up, but it does feel like the first half is really fast. And I think it kind of slows up in the second half, right?
Totally.
I do love the tone of the film. I think it feels dated, but I think that adds to the haunting nature, in my opinion. Like I said, it slows up in the back half. Some of the CG elements aren't the best, but that's typical of Japanese films. They're always kind of overextending themselves, I think, with the special effects. But most of the effects, I think, are good, especially the mother at the end, which I think is absolutely top notch. So what do you think about the style and structure, Jelani?
Yeah, this movie's too long. The movie's way too long. You cut out 30 minutes of this, and I'd be all right. I would. 30 whole minutes of this, and I'm fine.
I'll give him 35.
One less death. Too many damn twists. It's weird. It's weird in places. I'm like, why is it so damn slow? And then they introduced the detective guy a little like too late in this movie for some reason for me. I thought he'd be like towards the beginning, like studying the stuff already, and then it happens. I don't know. It's just there are a lot of different ways I would have taken this. It's a good movie, but I think like structurally it's all over the place, and then it's slow towards the end of it, which kind of like, I don't know, it loses its momentum. And as far as like the style, it looks good. As far as the ghosts, like the ghost itself, like I love the mom, of course. The mom, sloughed off skin, looks beautiful. I love that. I like the way the little girl is in black and white. Like she's not really there. It's basically the Ju-on. It's basically the Ju-on kid, but it looks creepier for some reason for this. I like how she's like dum dum, and she's eating the candy and walking towards her. It's just creepy as crap. I don't know what that is, but that looked great. It is dated. The cell phone is just a little too much for me. I miss flip phones for certain stuff. I really do, but not for like that creepy ass ringtone and hearing your death. Because I don't listen to voicemails. I never listen to voicemails. So my death should be on these like 20 times or something. I don't know.
This motherfucker, Jelani. He's like, I won't go in a jungle. I won't fall asleep in a camp. I won't fucking open a voicemail. Like you're like covered from every horror movie.
Everyone. If I end up dying in a horror movie, it'll be like random ass Final Destination. It would be some Final Destination.
That would be the horror movie you'd wind up in, though.
Jelani's gonna get a TikTok saying he's gonna die.
You're gonna die. I don't have TikTok.
Like, God damn.
I don't have TikTok or Snapchat. You got to get me on Facebook.
Yeah. Watch Dolls, man. That's going to be the end of your life.
Yep.
All right, Brooks, what about you? Style and structure.
I like the style of this movie. And I like Japanese, I love their sense of horror with especially curses and ghosts and demons and shit. I wish they would do a horror movie about the ghost hand that comes out of the toilet. Japan has some pretty cool ghost stories.
Well, we're talking about an American movie who did that next week with Ghoulies. So.
Oh God.
Yeah, I like how they integrate the kind of supernatural aspects into daily, into more modern text contextualize. They the whole thing with the ring is our obsession with television. So the ghosts go into the television realm. We're obsessed with cell phones. So now you have a spirit that can call you through your cell phone through your contacts list and spreads like a disease that way. How they have it's a very interesting kind of way how a lot of these creative Japanese storytellers have taken these old stories and kind of added a new twist to them. And this movie does feel a bit long, but it doesn't feel too detrimental. I don't know if there's any part specifically I would say that it could do without.
All right, maybe you want to cut 5 minutes, not 35 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 10 minutes.
That's more fair.
Yeah,
not as funny to say.
30 minutes would probably diminish it a bit too much. But yeah, and I do like the fact that it's it feels like he's trying something different, trying to do kind of a murder mystery almost, but with just a little kind of supernatural twist on it. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good style wise. You could tell it's Miike. It does have his signature to it, but it's just him doing something a little bit different.
You just saying you can tell it's Miike, but just a little bit different. It's got his style to it. I'm so proud of PCP Movie Night. Everybody, you're a Takashi Miike fucking expert now, Brooks, man. It's great.
From
it's
the
great
3
to
movies
hear.
I've seen so far.
Hell yeah, that's the whole purpose, man. Is just get Brooks to watch all these fucking movies. All right, what about you? Brooks is the real Perry. Brooks is the one who's really never seen a lot of these movies. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Verno? What do you think about style and structure?
I think it's fucking all over the place. The style's dope. The structure's crazy. I'm looking up Ringu right now because I want to know, because this is so similar to that. And they got Ringu done in 1 hour and 36 minutes. So they could have, it's a really similar story. They probably could have chopped it down. But I think what this does, it gives us more kills than Ringu does. So we get more set pieces in general, which is the highlight structurally for me. Really, I think the highlight is, for me, was the first half hour. I love the first kill. Like something stylistically about that. Like when we see that arm, like I said, there's something funny about that. But it's not waka waka funny. It's not like an American director would have done different. It would have been different, like with the music or something about it. It wouldn't have kept the eeriness of it. And then the very next thing, my favorite part about the elevator kill is that the dude's like, yeah, I've got one of these too. And she's like, it's in 2 minutes. I'm like, yes. That was so awesome. We only got to wait 2 minutes for this guy to die. That was great. And then when he dies, they do the same. It's a super similar thing where like when the elevator door closes, he's dead. And then it opens up and there's like people there. And she falls to the ground. And there's something kind of funny about it, but equally eerie. And like he pulled that off. And I was like so excited about the movie at that point. I'm like, this is going to be incredible. And like it loses that. I don't like remember too many more moments where it keeps that like mixture of like what I thought was. I don't even know if he was trying to be funny. Maybe it's just me, but structurally, I guess it's just fucking. It is all over the place. It's set up perfectly and it completely loses me. Hard to follow, and then it's a lot of. I wrote down a lot of and then. As far as the story, there's not a like. Therefore, this happens. It's like yeah, then we get some of this shit, and then that happens over there. There's quite a bit of that. And then the procedural element of it, which I'm never like a huge fan of, even in Ringu, like I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm never as excited about a procedural part of a story that like it just loses. I know I'm never that interested in or following why they're doing the next step, which I think is important. Jello's fall into that a lot of times too. It's like, and now we're here, and it's not like super clear why we're doing everything. But I don't know. The style is the shit though, man. There's so many dope ass moments. The phone and the magnets is great, and then I also love the hand that comes out and the finger bends back towards the end. That's one of my favorite moments.
Even just the bit where like the hands on Yumi at the very beginning, and then
or
goes off. That's very
the
creepy.
girl climbing out of the cupboard and shit. Like, there's another thing that reminds me of Ring, just like the usage of these really pale fingers and arms.
Well, that's just based on Japanese ghost and demon stories.
That's what I'm saying too. It's like what we were talking about earlier, like all these long-haired female villains, like that's a Japanese thing. We have not all, but we have mostly male horror villains in the States, and they have mostly female horror villains over there. Yeah, so, and they all have long black hair, so of course that's going to be part of it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all may know, but that's based on like the yokai or something, or the not the yokai, but there's like a term for that of this like demonic ghost woman with the long hair and shit like that, and moving that way and shit like that. Like it's a figure, like it's a mythological figure. Right. It's almost like a Dracula for us here, but older maybe even, and like more like rooted in culture, if that makes sense, in the collective unconscious. I would also say I love what you said about the style. I love that it's got this look of like analog almost, right? It's not like, even though the Blu-ray is like remastered very well, it's still got this kind of like otherworldly look, like it's from another time. And Takashi Miike's framing and the way he moves that camera is amazing. Like thinking about Kenji in that elevator scene, the way they frame it and he walks over and then they move the cameras, like it's just little things like that. That's Carpenter.
Huge.
Little things you don't notice that are stylistically solid and structurally sound.
In ghost stories in general, it's something I've noticed in the past year. And again, it always sounds silly to say on a podcast or something like this, but that slow zooming camera combined with the music and the type of music they pick is everything. Like it does so much. The last thing I'll say about it is like a negative stylistically, which I think it took away so much from the movie, is I mentioned it earlier, but like close-ups. There's so many moments where like what I think what they should have done is put the camera on close up in the person's face. When Yumi first comes out and there's those group of schoolgirls and they're talking about, they're kind of explaining to her what is happening. They never show Yumi. And she's just kind of becoming our main character. And they're just showing these girls telling the story and never her reaction. That's super weird. Like, that's not a normal thing a director would do. And then later on, you remember when the one girl's the detective guy, it's like the second main character, when he goes in the police station and he freaks out and he's yelling at the cops, they never show his face that entire scene. They just show the cops, and the cops aren't even reacting to him. That's super weird. Like, that could have been a moment that we had with that character where we felt his pain. Like, let's show the back of his head. Like that's probably because you're doing 5 movies a year. Like, in my opinion, you're missing things like that by doing 5 movies a year.
Well, I mean, you don't have time to get those close-ups. You're like, everything's a mid, All right, let's just go. Let's just
Right.
roll. Let's
That
just
is
get
what
it
it
done
is.
and get it made, right? I don't know. Maybe. You're probably right. You know, like Stephen King, a lot of people love him. I do too. He does a lot of books. They're not all great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What about you, Hammer Time Holsey? What do you think about the style and structure of the film?
I agree with others have said, like style, it oozes with style. It's got a great style. Structure, it's got some problems. It does feel like because you were saying that the book came out afterwards or coincided or whatever, it does sound like they came up with the idea. Okay, you call yourself and leave. And they didn't really have it fleshed out initially. That's what it felt like. And when they do this, when I watched the film, like, was this, I don't know, maybe because I found it weaker than his other films that I've seen. But it oozes with style. It definitely has style. It definitely does have the fingerprints of Takashi Miike on it. And I don't know. I enjoy that aspect. I mean, it definitely is style. And that's something I never, if I look at horror films I've liked in the past, you're like, you got your Dolls and you got your, Friday the 13th and you got Nightmare on Elm Street with the nightmares. I never really get into like demons and spiritual stuff. Like that's not my cup of tea. It doesn't do anything for me because I don't believe any of that stuff. It's very big in Shintoism. It's very big in Japan. And so I start to like those types
And yet
of
you
movies
didn't check that
more and more.
voicemail.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I didn't check that voicemail. I didn't check the voicemail. That was paranoia or whatever. Of course, I also was freaking out after I saw The Exorcist about that fucking access to my attic too. Okay. So I don't believe in this shit, but I get paranoid, especially when I'm tired.
Eddie, they do explain the calls in the movie. I don't think I want to spoil it for you. We have already kind of spoiled it. We talked about it a little bit.
Spoiler alert.
Promiscuous time traveler, you're
Robbie
welcome.
calling everybody.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Like, who the fuck is Robbie Bill? What the fuck?
It's just somebody drunk dialing.
What the crap? This is what the review's
It's just
about.
Joe bitching about X-Men. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, it's related to. We'll probably talk about it in the theme section, but it's related to some traumatic things that happened to some people that have caused some kind of ghost activity to occur.
But anyway, style great, structure. There's issues, but
All right.
and I don't know where you cut out of the film because I don't think the film is that long. It does feel long though. That's the weird thing because it's less than 2 hours, so maybe they could have got an hour and a half.
What is it, like an hour and 45 or 50 or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's like 173.
2 hours.
That somber tone.
Yeah.
It can't. It has an expiration date at about an hour and 35 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't hold that up.
So I think if
You
it was
really
We
even
just
30
watch too
minutes-
many horror movies, and we're all just wanting them to get in and out, man.
That's what I said. Next year, instead of bloodiest, most transgressive Horrorfest, it should be 51 movies, the shortest, quickest pace fucking movies.
Gotta do Blood Feast then.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, that would be a fucking fun one. We should have added that in this year. Maybe a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an in and out, like, and it's
Yeah.
great.
All right,
It's
Joe.
not
What about you?
great.
Style and structure. You're professional. You're a writer.
It's true.
This is what you do. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add too much more to the style part. I think we're all on board. It looks great with the structure. To bring up, like, as comparing this to like Ringu is a different structured movie. That is very procedural. That whole movie moves forward because the two are investigating, and it's just constantly like, oh, we're here now. Let's look at this. Let's examine this tape. Let's go over here. What's this mean? Let's talk to this person. That gets us here. Like that is how that movie is shorter. So that doesn't really work with how this is structured in the sense that, again, a big difference, I think, with Ringu and When This Call is the procedural stuff is like kind of like the B plot or like that not as important. Whereas in Ringu, it is like the thing that is moving it forward. Which I think works. I love Ringu. But yeah, here you would have to maybe cut like one of the like if you cut like 3-4 minutes from like the end, like after they're at the hospital, if you were able to do that, and then you cut a little bit of some of the like procedural stuff in that like second act of the movie before they get to the hospital, I think you could effectively get this to like closer to like 138 and then plus credits. And I think that might work. But I mean, honestly, I don't have too much of a problem with the runtime because it's great to just look at. Like I sort of enjoy how eerie, even in the scenes where it's like a couple of people sitting around talking about all the horrific things going on. Like it's still moody, it's still atmospheric, it's still like there's this like sense of dread throughout the whole movie. And that I don't really lose that at any point. And then I feel like the structure, you get a couple, you get like 3 really good deaths in like the first half of the movie, by like little over half, because like I guess Natsumi's like around like the 55-minute mark or something like that. So it's like a little bit into like
that's like the longest build up to a death, I feel like, in the movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you got that, and then that's like that leads to, okay, we got to stop this. We go to the hospital. It's basically the haunted house portion of the movie. And then they deal with that, and then oh no, it's not quite over, and then the end. Like I think structurally, it's not like as all over the like. That's a pretty solid structure when you sort of lay it out like there. Like maybe the execution isn't working for people, but like I mean, 1 death, 2nd death, build up to 3rd death. We got to solve this. Go to the haunted house to stop the ghost. We did it. Oh no, not defeated yet. Twist end. That's pretty solid. When
You're spot on though,
lay it out
Robbie.
like
It's
that.
the time that takes place between the 2nd kill and the 3rd kill is way too long.
There should have been maybe one more in there. Maybe we killed Kenji too quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
That is true.
Could have like
exactly
built that up like a little more, and then if you added a few minutes to that, and then you cut some from Natsumi, and like got to that faster, maybe.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's not
I
the
mean,
length
like, yeah.
always. You're right. Sometimes it's just the pace.
Yeah, but I think if you lay out the structure, that's pretty solid. You could like copy that and do that same kind of structure with like a lot of movies, and I think it would work.
Yeah. All right. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the music. The music is done by Koji Endo, and I think the music is great. But what really most people think of is the ringtone, right? Which was actually like marketed in Japan at the time that this movie released as like a buyable ringtone, because I know you kids out there may think this is crazy. We used to pay money for ringtones. Very weird.
I paid for several.
We would buy them.
And we were pretty proud of it too. We were really excited about it.
Yo, call me, bro. Call me, man. Just listen. I mean, you know what the bring back tone, right? Where somebody calls you and it plays a song. I used to be like, I used to love that shit.
Under pressure.
But the ringtone is great. And what I love about that is it sounds very fucking creepy. It's kind of got that Profondo Rosso lullaby portion, right? It's kind of got that
like
kind
a
of
kid
vibe.
show theme or something.
Yeah, and it turns out that it's like that I Love Mom song or whatever, the girl singing, and then it has another fucking layer to it, right? But if you actually listen to the music, the score is subtle. It's got that melancholy nature to it, but it's haunting. It's got that piano that just kind of like dun dun dun, and it's got strings, but they're not like full strings. It's like a haunting string quartet or something, right? But it captures this mood and this atmosphere of loneliness and dread, like Joe was saying, right? So I love the music in this movie. What about you, Jelani?
I kind of agree, and I use this a lot, but I'm gonna say it here too. It is very haunting. Mm-hmm. It's ominous music in a lot of places, and it's in parts where I wouldn't expect it to be, but it's like the tone of this movie is just so dark and grim. So you're popping this music in when the detective is on the bed at the end. That music or that I don't know. It's kind of eerie because she walks up to him, kisses him, puts that candy in his mouth, all with the knife in the back while that music is playing. Oh my God. It's like she's planning it. I don't know. It feels deliberate with the music while she's doing this. So it's crazy. I don't know. But the ringtone, definitely. The ringtone got annoying. I'm sorry. That thing kept going. And I'm like, shut that damn phone off or I will. It was a mess. But it was a crazy ass ringtone.
I mean, doesn't she shut off the phone at one point and it still comes on and rings?
Yeah.
Doesn't one of me be like, I haven't paid my bill in like 2 months. And it's still like, but that's like one of the elements of it, right?
Yeah.
And even if you look at it, like, it doesn't make sense.
Back to her.
She goes to her provider and has them end the contract. This is how you get a 2-hour and 5-minute movie. I don't think we needed to see that.
I don't need it.
What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the music in the film?
I liked it. It's it's there when this movie relies a lot on the silent moments. I think
that's true too.
But when the music does come in, like I think it's very fitting for the scenes. Like it's it does stand out, but it's also very it's kind of low key at the same time. So what more can you really ask from from a soundtrack?
Absolutely. What about you, Verno? What are you thinking?
I liked it a lot. Both times I watched it, I had headphones on, which I appreciated, or which helped. But like we did a kind of a run on Blood Splatter Chatter where we did a bunch of ghost stories for about 3 weeks in a row, and that's all of them. And this one, there's a lot more like droning and white noise than you get in that's what adds to the eeriness of that haunting feeling, which I like. Super effective in this. And then the other bit, just more of sound design that stuck out to me, is every time we get that mom clipping her toenails, like made me wince with the sound of that. It was like overly loud compared to the rest of the sound, and it was like, I don't know.
There's a dude who does a commentary on the first movie here, and one of the things he says is he feels Takashi Miike doesn't get credit for his sound design in his movies.
The asthma thing too, whatever, I can't think of what that's called, but
Inhaler.
Yeah, Inhaler. That's something Fable always brings up on my show, is like just making everyday objects creepy. And they did a really good job with that. The candy and the inhaler for that, and the sound of it was.
Yeah, you could hear the candy like hit the teeth as it was rolling out and shit like that, right? Like, yeah, man, it makes me want to go back and rewatch like Audition or something and really pay attention to the sound design, right? That sounds great. What about you, Hammer Time Whole Shoe? What do you think about the music in the film, man? What you sitting on?
I agree with you. I mean, I think it works. I don't think there's music. I'm not going to go run out and buy the fucking soundtrack, but I think the music works well. And more so, we talked about the sounds that stand out, that ringtone, the inhaler thing specifically. I didn't know Verna was going to bring that up. I thought it wasn't for a second there, but that inhaler, and they realized it's the inhaler sound. So there's specific sounds that work really well. I think sound design is one of Miike's, something he pays attention to. There's some directors you and I like, and I won't say sound design, but their sound selection when it comes to music, like their soundtrack, like, oh, these great bands, whatever. There's some directors who seem to sound is on the forefront of the design of when they're making a film. Some directors, not so much. So I think the soundtrack itself works well for the film. It's not, again, I'm not going to run around buy the soundtrack. I don't know if it's available, but it works. It's never distracting. It's not bad, but most specifically, it's the ringtones and the other things that play like such a prominent part of the movie, and those stick with you, and those you notice. And that ringtone, man, the ringtone, is pretty awesome. Great. Especially when they thought they threw the phone out, or they recycled the phone, or they turned the phone off, and then the ringtone.
I'm gonna fuck with you, dude, at Scarefest, man. When you're asleep, I'm gonna because I'm gonna wake up before you, and I'm gonna change your fucking ringtone to that shit.
I'm gonna wait till you're asleep and then surprise you and cut off a toe. Wasn't that surprising?
Yeah. No, I want to go back because just thinking about an audition when the bag moves in that one scene, like the sound design has a lot to do.
Oh yeah. Especially that's terrible. That whole thing is fucking weird in Audition, and It's
the sound design when the chick is like spinning her body around and shit like that, right? Like breaking her neck and stuff. Pretty dope. Pretty dope. What about you, Joe? What do you think about the music and the sound design? I think we're just changing music and sound design. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, it all works really well in this movie. The soundtrack, for the most part, is subdued enough to let like the visuals and the style sort of shine through. One of the better parts about this, I think Takashi Miike is very good at this, is like the soundtrack, the score never gets in the way of what's on the screen. It always enhances. And same thing with the sound design here. It all just enhances the moment. It adds to the fear, to the sort of trying to get your adrenaline going during some scenes, and it never distracts from that, which you can't say about every horror movie. There's never moments where, and this is a choice. There are ways you can do a horror movie where this works, but there's nothing where like you're just drowned out in sound and lose what's happening. So I mean, yeah, it all works. I mean, the result is you don't necessarily, outside the ringtone and a few other moments, get like a memorable piece of music outside of that, but that's not really the point of this movie. So
yeah, 100%. All right. This movie's got some themes. It's got some things it's saying. And one of the things we believe here at Pop Culture Philosophers is that we take our own meanings out of movies. So Jelani, what is One Missed Call saying to you?
Well, it's pretty much the one everyone's probably going to say, but it's the cycle of abuse, how abuse perpetuates itself. Because basically, we haven't really touched on the plot of this movie for real. I mean, not that I want to explain it, but
I would love if you did, because I still am not sure.
I don't know. I read Wikipedia. All right, so
I did too.
So like, this girl's best friend dies from a phone call, and it's weird because there are a series of people that have had the same issue, and I guess there was a mother and two daughters involved, and the mother was blamed for having Munchausen by proxy, which is basically she was hurting her kids intentionally to get attention. And so I don't know what happened to the mom, because I was still trying to watch that part in the movie. Somehow the mom died, and somehow the kid died, and then the little girl is left. One of the little girls is left. She can't speak. So there's this main character lady who two of her friends horribly die, and then when they horribly die, I guess the nation starts to notice, and they try to save the third friend from dying from these phone calls where they get a phone call where they hear their death 2 days later. It's a message from 2 days prior, or 2 days in the future, and then they die after that. And then some shit happens. There's a detective, and the detective is friends with the main character, and they're trying to figure out what the hell happened. And they find the apartment where where the mom is buried, or not buried, but where she lays. And she has a cell phone in her hand, and she's been making these calls, or you assume that she's been making these ghost calls to these people in her phone. I guess asking for help. So she's asking for help from all the people that get the call, but then the call turns out to be a trap for murder. I'm guessing this is the story. And then, like, the main character is possessed by the real killer, who happens to be the mom's daughter. And the mom's daughter is a freaking sociopath who's been burning the other little girl that's in here that's unresponsive all this time. And she possesses Yumi, the main character, and attacks the detective friend that's trying to help her. And then starts the whole process of trauma over again by, I guess, stabbing this guy again, helping him, nursing him back to health, and stabbing him again.
His reaction to being stabbed is the best. He just
It
kind of
is.
like he's
Like,
kind of like what? Like a raise of the eyebrows.
I don't know if I explained that well enough.
It was brilliant.
That was the plot. To me, that's what I saw, and it's still confusing me. I'm still confused by it, but it's the cycle of trauma. So the girl traumatized her sister, and now she's beginning to traumatize this detective for the rest of his life, or until 2 happens. Hopefully 2 explains a little more of what the fuck happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not seen 2 or 3, but I hear they're pretty good. So
So that's what I got. I apologize if I went too long on that, but
that's all right. I had enough time to go take a whiz, so that's great. What about you, Brooks? What's this movie speaking to you?
I think like a lot of the horror in this movie, like even though it doesn't really reveal it until then, is kind of like the idea of the bad seed. You know, the child who just seems to be like just evil, just because, you know. And I don't believe that. Like I don't believe any child is going to like be evil just like without, you know, the influence of like a shitty parent or something. But it is something, you know, like, you know, even the best kids have their little moments, you know, these moments where they're like, because, you know, they haven't quite developed their full understanding of like empathy and like, you know, understanding other people and like, you know, how their actions can like hurt other people sometimes. And like, you know, the fact that, you know, this lady's like, she's having such a problem with her kid that she like sees that she's having an asthma attack and just like lets her die is like, it's, you know, it's kind of tragic because, you know, you don't know this girl was like would have been a hopeless case. You know, she could have tried to help her, I think. But, you know, I don't know if like I would say the mom was like incompetent or anything. I think she was just probably like, you know, stressed. She probably had her own mental issues as well. And, you know, it's hard for an adult who's dealing with that kind of thing to deal with a kid who's also having, you know, these kind of problems. And, you know, but like there's a lot of like ghost kids, you know, in like Japanese ghost stories. Because I think, you know, it's probably the most tragic ghost is like the ghost that had the potential to have an actual life, but had it like stolen from them. And that's why, you know, they feel so angry. They're so angry, you know, because they have that child rage of like, you know, it's unfair. And, you know, I don't understand, you know, like, why didn't I get a life? Like, why should you have something when I couldn't have it, you know? Mm-hmm. This whole idea of like, you know, this kind of childish, vindictive nature to it that, you know, it's very scary. But, you know, like most of all, I think it's just, you know, the very tragic aspect of, you know, a life taken too soon. And like, you know, the idea of that life, you know, affecting, or that, you know, kind of bad negative energy, like affecting the real world.
All right. Well put.
Hey,
what about you, Verno? What are you thinking?
First of all, it's just making me think like, I think I always have this disconnect, even with Ring and The Ring, like when we're dealing with these characters that aren't actually characters like in the movie in the traditional sense, like Samara and her mother and the kids and their mother in this, like we don't spend any real time with them outside of flashbacks. So I think I find a hard time like connecting to them and having the empathy that you're supposed to have towards them to make the story really work, like all the way 100%. But as far as the theme, obviously you guys are right. I love that, like earlier in the movie, that's the theme of the lesson that the teacher is teaching, like the professor and all that. Wait, how does she say it? Like trauma spawns trauma, or abuse spawns trauma. But like one thing that I thought the movie was going to be more about, because there are a lot of themes, especially in the first like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And they don't delve too deep into too many of them. But I like the idea of like, get my name out of your phone. Like how technology is supposed to connect us and it's really driving us further apart. I really thought that's what the movie was going to be more about. And I think in 2024, like that message obviously resonates even more than it would have in 2003. So that's kind of what I took for it. Also, I thought suicide was going to be a bigger part of it because I keep thinking all these deaths are suicides and there's such a big problem. I don't know if I think Japan is one of the countries over there that has big issues with suicide or whatever. So I thought that was going to be there, but it is mostly obviously what you guys are saying, but there's a lot going on. Also, another thing that I thought they were going to be bigger about is the way that they exploit the one that dies on TV, about how they're kind of using her tragedy for their benefit. So there's that, but then again, that's not like really delved too deep into. It's just something that is a part of.
Well, you know, but we're talking about a director who is making 5 films that year, right? And maybe these are themes that are laid out, and maybe he didn't explain them enough for you because he thought that you would be able to pick up on those themes, Verno, like you did.
Right. There's the that's it's an asshole way of saying it, but there's like you can touch on something in a movie. You can touch on something in a movie, but then you maybe not either have the ability or the know how to explore that theme more deep in the movie. And I think that's really what happened here.
Well, I mean, when you're making these things, I bet this script was really rushed together. Like John said earlier, it seems like they didn't really know where they were going as they started, right? But you're right, man. Nothing describes me better than that. Well, that's an asshole way to put that, but okay. What about you, Hammer Time? What's this movie speaking to you?
Well, the biggest thing I thought it was, they're setting up they were saying the abuse begets abuse, whatever, like it was a cycle. And so that kind of leads you to think it was the mom. And then you can find out it's not the mom, but was the kid abused? We don't see that. But maybe the kid was abused, maybe by her father, and we don't see that. I don't know, because it definitely was setting up this whole thing. And then the payoff, the twist kind of negates that, right? You don't see the daughter actually being abused. Not that she wasn't. Maybe she was. We just saw her picking on. Maybe she was just a little piece of shit. That's all you see. You know what I'm saying? We don't know.
She wasn't just picking on her, dude. She stabbed her with a fucking knife, dude.
No, I'm saying she was terrible to her little sister, but we don't know if something happened to her. But we don't see that. So maybe.
No, I believe that something did. That's the whole point.
Yeah, maybe, right? Or maybe it wasn't because we don't see that. I don't know. I feel bad for the kid because she, like, when she's gasping and she needs her inhaler, it's terrible acting. It's not her fault because she's a little kid, but I'm like, oh God, this is the worst fucking acting. And I don't know, because they were really setting up that whole thing, and then they sort of like, oh no, it's not the mother. I'm like, oh, so wait a minute. So is it not the abuse? I don't know. I feel like they kind of like came up with this concept. Again, I think they had like the bones of a movie and then just sort of like filled it out. And then they're like, you know what? Twist ending. Let's M. Night Shyamalan that shit is what.
It's a twist.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, there is some stuff you can pick out whether it was intentional or not. And especially the whole thing about her turning the guy, I forgot his name, into like her victim so she can abuse them or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And not, you know, that she needs some sort of like perpetual victim, and so maybe he volunteers unknowingly to be her victim or whatever. And there's that whole thing, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It was you can pick things out of there. I don't know if they were intentional or not. I don't know.
All right. What about you, Joe? What do you think? What's this movie speaking to you?
I mean, a lot of people touched on stuff this movie sort of covers already, but I guess I'd add it's dealing a lot with the consequences of not confronting and resolving the past or your past, or there's this sort of implication here of if these other people who died were more introspective and were more interested in resolving issues they've had in the past, or helping other people resolve what they've been going through, that they wouldn't have died horribly by a crazy ghost monster. But yeah, I think it deals with a lot of that. A lot of it's not easy to sort of go back and try to think of these things, to put yourself in maybe your own shoes or other people's shoes, see how other people's decisions affect it. Like it's really sort of talking about in a more large scale, I guess, of actually trying to help people and go in and search for these problems. Because like Natsumi, for example, dies because no one's actually trying to figure out what led to this situation. They're trying to figure out how to stop it in the now.
Right.
And it's not until they make the decision to be like, oh, we actually have to find out why this has happened, like go back that they're able to maybe stop what's happening. So,
except the people from TV, they weren't trying to stop it. They were just trying to get that little bit of claim to fame, whatever, like cash in on her death.
Well, they probably thought there was nothing to it, right? And they're just trying to exploit it, right? Or maybe some people are actually trying to help, right? By bringing in that dude who's the exorcist or whatever, right? And you notice he's freaking out when he's like, "Oh shit, this isn't working." I feel like at least some of those people are earnest, but it does exploitation of trauma is one of the themes. This movie is about trauma.
Yeah.
The cyclical nature of abuse, trauma. Dan Waters told me this on this show one day. He said, all ghost stories are about trauma, right? So we've unpacked that a lot. But I think, Verno, you're onto something, but I do think this is very much a theme in the movie that I pick up on, and it's the isolating nature of technology, right? Because I think this movie's rather prophetic. We're talking about this movie's made in 2003. Cell phones are like in, and a lot of people have them, but they haven't become what they are today yet.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we, in those days, were like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could just get on the internet on my phone, like in a really cool way? And just like, we all were like, what if I could just get on the internet in the middle of the day and like blah, 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 blah. And so the idea that this movie starts with a group of friends meeting, right? None of these people really know each other. They're just swapping their numbers. They're doing all this stuff. Maybe they know a little bit, but even to the point where the first girl who dies is obsessed with this dude, Kenji. And it's all about what they said through text or what they said on the phone and shit like that. And so the idea, I think loneliness is a big theme in this movie, because I think that is what tonally and atmospherically Miike is actually focusing on, right? Is the loneliness of dying, right? Like when you know you're going to die. I can't even imagine what that's got to feel like, right? Where you're terminal, or you've got something going on. We got friends that are going through this shit right now. I can't even imagine what that feels like, right? And the isolation, right? But this movie's kind of making a point, I think, where we are putting ourselves in this isolated, lonely phase just through our technology, where we feel like we're more connected, but in actuality, we're not, because now we're behind screens across distances and not actually connecting with people. And, body language, touch, eyes, that stuff means a lot about human connection, right? There are a lot of people that interact a lot with people online today or through their phones and are very isolated, right? So I think this movie's rather prophetic with some of the themes on that. And I do think it touches on that. I do think it does, because this movie is shown loneliness is such a part of this movie to me. Like the trauma's there, and that, I'm sure that's connected into it. But to me, it does talk about the isolating nature of technology. And that's something I've seen a lot of. We talk about Ringu, we talk about that, the influence from that film. But I think that's a cultural thing in Japan, is like the understanding, probably because of what they've been through historically, of like what quick changes and expansion can do to a culture, right? Where there's a big disconnect between where we were and where we're going. And a lot of us now are feeling very lost in it, And I think it's touching on that, man. Connection in an isolating age, as Rent says. All right, time to rate the film. I'm going to kick us off because I don't want anybody to think I'm influenced by anybody else. I do think the movie kind of picks up on some themes. I think the movie it's unfortunate because it's Takashi Miike actually stretching as a director, not trying to lean into think about somebody like Dario Argento or something, and they want to make a movie that, like when he made 5 Days in Milan, he's like, I want to make a comedy. I don't want to make horror movies all the time. This is Takashi Miike, who didn't just make horror movies all the time, and who doesn't just make horror movies all the time, going, I want to make something scary, haunting, spooky, not just gore and shock. And isn't this crazy that she's like razor wiring his fucking leg off right now? Like, isn't that cool? Which it is, you know what I'm saying? But I think there's still that gnarly bit in here. It's him subduing himself just a little bit to make a certain type of movie. And maybe that's part of the commercialization of filmmakers that can make this, that are prolific like this, that can do this kind of stuff. So I think it does, as Joe said, do enough things different, right? That makes it stand out to me. I think this is a better film than Ringu, in my opinion. I don't think it's better than Ju-on, but Ju-on doesn't have as much overlap with this one, right? But I do like this film. I think it's got some issues. It's not perfect. It's not Miike's best film, but I like it enough. And I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 you digs. You out there in the chat, what do you give the film out of 5 you digs? You rate it. I gave it a 4. Jelani, where are you sitting?
Like I said, I may need to watch it again. I just need to sit down and like absorb it again, maybe, and feel it. But I feel it was too long. It's Takashi Miike's like it's derivative of himself, which kind of sucks because like he is toning himself down. He is trying new things, but he could have done it in a more creative way, in my perspective. It's fine. It's a very watchable movie. I'll definitely have to watch it again. So for the sake of Horrorfest, I will give it a 3.5. You did.
All right. 3.5. That's very respectable.
Yeah. I'll try to write it.
You know, in a Horrorfest, we always have a 0.5, a plus 0.5 leeway. I mean, it's just the way it goes, man. Some movies get 5 you digs here that probably shouldn't. But you know, that's what happens. What about you, Brooks? What are you thinking out of 5 you digs? What do you give one missed call?
Yeah, I'd give this one a 3.5 as well. Like, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a mid movie. I think it's better than a mid movie, but you know, it does have issues. Like, I feel like, you know, I might probably enjoy it more on a rewatch, but like, you know, just from my initial experience, like a lot of it kind of was very forgettable for me. Like, you know, I didn't think the characters were particularly memorable, and you know, I feel like it could have done with being a little bit shorter. So yeah, like I feel like I could change my mind like eventually down the line, but right now I'd say 3.5 is what I'd settle on.
All right, I like that. 3.5. Two Gun Pedro agrees with you, and I love that you're like, there's not many memorable characters to connect to. Just wait till next week, brother. Anyway, Verno, thank you for being here. What do you rate this film out of 5 you digs?
I think that's probably my biggest thing with it is the characters. Like, I really like the first time I watched the movie, like I kept on being like, oh, that's the same. Is that the same person? Like I couldn't even follow who was who. And part of that is it's just, you know, it's harder to tell who is who sometimes when you're watching a Japanese film.
Brother.
So it's the fucking truth. It's science, man. They can't tell us apart either. I feel fine with that. I'm not mad at them. I doubt they're mad at me. I guarantee it. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna give it a 3, man, just because like as bad like it's super badass in a lot of ways. But I rarely do this where I'm like, what do other people think? I haven't found many people that disagree with me. It's a very derivative film. Like there's movies that I have not seen that it's just as derivative of. Like Pulse is one that it's ripping stuff from Pulse. I haven't even seen The Grudge, and supposedly it's ripping stuff from that. And I have seen Ring, and it's like it is Ring. It feels like a real
Ju-on, which The Grudge is based on.
I never saw Ju-on. I didn't.
Really?
No.
Did you not do that with us last year?
No, I need to. That's like the big one that I need to see.
Bruh,
I think it really does feel like a reimagining of Ring. Like it is so The Ring. Like that, Joe. I don't know if you're still there, but like structure-wise, it not being that, it is. Like Ring starts the same way. You get a couple kills and then it goes into procedural. This you get a couple kills, but it takes 40 minutes to do the 3 kills, and then you get a proceed, and then it does Ring, pretty much. So like I don't know. It's by the end of it, I just don't give a shit. There's a lot of points you guys have made about the story. It's like, dude, I'm not even gonna lie. I was not even following it that well. And it's like, that could be my fault, but I watch a lot of these things, man. I follow the majority of them. I think when I don't follow it, it's more their fault than mine. And it's more
just because you're wrong tonight doesn't mean that you're wrong all the time or don't know what you're talking about.
I'm telling you, man, search the internet. You look for someone giving this a positive review. And I'm glad that I was here for the one that happened. Because I got it. You know what I mean? For Robbie, you're the only person I've ever said it's that good of a movie. So you know what I mean? I feel good.
No, I agree. I get what you're saying. Well, apparently Joe too, so that's nice.
Right. I give it a 3, but
Three's great.
I
Dude.
will
think
say I'm
three's
super glad I watched it because of the moments. It's got plenty
Yeah.
enough moments to make it very much worth the watch and recommend to certain fans.
Yeah.
I know it's not super bloody or transgressive, but I needed a Miike film, and that's the one we had left. So.
Yeah. That whole hospital, the whole hospital scene, that whole sequence, I think is just great. Like I could just watch that, you know.
It's true. It's better than the hospital sequence in Halloween Kills.
Which
is my favorite of the new
Evil
trilogy.
dies tonight.
I was just watching that before we got rolling.
That's dies tonight.
All right, a 3 from Verno. What about you, John? Where are you sitting?
I'll probably do a 4. Just because I think the casting is solid. I think the casting's great. There's problems structurally, but I think style is great. I think the concept with the missed call is really cool, and the cast is phenomenal. It really does have a good cast. They were just putting a mediocre film, and it's not Takashi Miike's best film, but it's also not a bad film. You know what I'm saying? I think the comparison is, yes, to The Grudge, to The Ring, to other films that he's done as well, including Audition, stuff like that. So I think our standards are too high, and I think if we had saw it in 2003, our opinion might be different than now because we've seen so many types of films with these, like, you know, ghosts, these Japanese ghosts, like this style. And by the way, I can tell all the fucking people apart because I'm not a fucking racist.
There's nothing racist about that. Look it up. If you live within a culture, you can recognize like 100, 150 different types of faces. If you live outside of that culture, you can recognize about 11 types of faces. There's nothing
Part of
racist
Japanese
about
culture
it.
is kind of like
science.
uniformity.
There is a uniformity thing. Yeah.
You know who I like the
dyeing
most?
your hair.
I like the one with the black hair.
They
The
don't
black
like
hair.
different-
I have to
Greatest
talk about where I rank the movie. Maybe we could do that now.
No, let's get into
this gets to a weird place.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I have to defend being called a racist. Give me a minute. No, go ahead. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. Not racist. I'm not calling for a racist. I take that back.
Oh my God, Joe, what do you think about the movie? Out of 5
Okay.
Come in and save us now.
You know, I'm gonna give this a 4. I really like it. I think there's a lot of great scenes and kills. I enjoy all the kills in this. They're all good. There's not like a dud in the bunch. There's not like Jason coming on the boat and shoving a rock in a guy's chest. You know, it's none of that. So
that's good shit, though, man.
That's great shit.
Right? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. He pushed the guy's head off.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, I think it's really good. I'm not willing to like die on the hill for this one, like I might for like Audition. But yeah, it's solid, a horror movie. I think it's a good watch. So yeah, 4.
Hell yeah, 4 from me and Joe and John. A 3.5 from Brooks and Jelani, and a 3 from Verno for a PCP average of 3.69, dudes. Well deserved. Not a bad movie, and that's the thing. Nobody gave it a bad review. Everybody just, you know,
suck.
Yeah, it didn't suck.
No ghost dimension.
We've seen Jelani give some. Yeah, it ain't no ghost dimension. Is that going to be the worst movie of Horrorfest?
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. When we talk about Ghoulies 1 and 2, that's right, everybody. It's time for the PCP double feature next week for Horrorfest 2024. We're going back to the 80s to talk about Ghoulies and Ghoulies 2, childhood favorites of mine. But Horrorfest rolls on through before that. Do check out Dylan's Horror Show on Sunday night as they talk about Innocent Blood. And this upcoming Thursday, A Dark Song over at Blood Splatter Chatter. What about you, Jelani? What you got coming up?
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been pretty good. Takashi Miike he's a talented director. I think I'll watch more of his stuff as we go along. I'm kidding.
There's a lot to watch.
Yeah, I know. I think I watched Imprint, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. I remember watching all of Masters of Horror. So
Imprint's fucking great. I know you watched Imprint.
I think I watched Imprint. I gotta be
sure you watched it with me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. But anyhow, great topic. Great people to talk about it with. Of course, Brooks and I do this little ditty called Go Figure Reviews, where we had our fall show and tell spectacular. We had a lot of fun people on it. We did a whole bunch of fun stuff. We showed, we told, we did a good job. Come watch that replay. And of course, vote for us for the CBC Awards at cbc.org or cbcawards.org. And also, we did another video, which is a Batman Adam West. It is the DC multiverse figure. He has a wired cape, so he's super cool. And it's Adam West. Cool. And he's got the fingers where he can do the Watusi. Yeah. So like, it's awesome. Freaking, it's a cool thing, man. I really cannot wait for y'all to see what we got coming next, because we got a lot of videos coming. We got a lot of stuff to do. I'm excited that we're nominated for something. So if you guys can, at least vote for us so we can come second, at least second to Jim Mint, it would be nice.
Come on, y'all, go vote.
Yeah, love it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you,
Brooks. Thank you for being here. Final thoughts.
Yeah, it's like just you get a mysterious voice message. Don't be a weak man like John. Just answer it. Maybe it's good news. It could be important.
It was probably about fucking extending my auto warranty or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. Guaranteed.
Verno, thank you for being here, man. Very excited for Thursday night show. Final thoughts.
I'm very excited as well. As Robbie said, a Dark Song Thursday night, 8 Central Standard Time on a Blood Splatter Chatter. Fun little occult dark magic chamber piece. So yeah, really excited about that. And then on Sunday, Missing Link and I are getting together to talk about our top 10 horror movies of the 2000s. So that should be fun.
Huh. I wonder if the remake of One Missed Call is going to be on there.
Yeah, I fucking hope not.
Trust me, knowing what you feel about this one, you would hate that one.
I guarantee it.
But you'd probably be able to figure out who the characters are. Whole Shoe, thank you for being here. Final thoughts? I know you're going to be here next week, right?
I'll be here next week. I suffered.
You're very excited for that.
Ghoulies movies, and I'll be here next week. But I just want to plug Go Figure Reviews, because I don't really collect action figures, but I keep watching their show because they've got some awesome content on there, and they show some really cool shit that I didn't even know existed. They showed off that cool ass Chun-Li. There's some really cool stuff. So if you like figures, even the slightest, yeah, get over there and check it out. And they have a good channel.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for being here. Final thoughts.
Well, the Green Hornet Miss Fury crossover is coming out soon. That's going to be end of November, but you can pre-order it now. I think it looks gorgeous. Federico Ceresa, the interior artist in this book, is going to blow up. Get on the ground floor with this guy. Like, seriously. Alex, Henry, Leslie, Taylor, the rest of the team, they're great. I'm not in any way trying to downplay them, but a lot of them you've maybe already seen a bit. I think Leslie's, killing it too and really elevating the art with her colors on it. But Federico is going places. I'm telling you, Alex is already in every place. He's unavoidable, but Federico. So please check that out. I'm editing it. I'm very proud of it. And also, you can probably still get Karnak the Mystic. Make it sell out. Make sure Robbie has 0 copies left soon. Just do it.
I still got some copies if anybody's looking.
I got mine.
Sell them out. Let's make it happen.
It's a good book, and the art, he's not overselling the art on Green Hornet. It's going to be dope. And we have Alex on the show, not this Friday because he's in Baltimore, but the Friday after that. So do check that out. That'll be the Friday after this upcoming Friday. Next Friday? Awesome. I guess that's next Friday. The one with with Omar Epps. No, what's his Mike Epps? Jesus.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Omar, what he looks like too?
No, their last name is Epps. Come on, man. Let's get over this.
Watching you.
Horrorfest. We're still just getting started, y'all. We got a lot of places to go. Find us over at Dark Song on Blood Splatter Chatter. Dylan and the crew. That's Dylan and Scarpad. I say the crew. The crew is Scarpad. They're going to be talking about Innocent Blood. And next week, Ghoulies and Ghoulies 2. That's your homework. If you want to get this cool gnarly One Missed Call Trilogy Blu-ray set. There's a link in the description where you can buy it for a great price on Amazon, $25 for 3 films, and help support PCP. We get like at least 25 cents off of that, so that's pretty dope if you do that. Madison, nice to see you.
Say hi, Uncle Robbie.
So yeah, Ghoulies 1 and 2, y'all. John's very excited to be here. I'm very excited. Y'all are the best. We love you. We are dipping out. And on behalf of everybody here, have a bloody transgressive holiday season. And remember, love each other. Station Pop Pop.
51 movies across 3 channels. The bloodiest, most transgressive Horrorfest lineup yet. The bloodiest, most transgressive Horrorfest lineup of all time, going on right now until Halloween.